Well, hello, friends. My name is Eric Lambert, and welcome to the Woodpicker Studio. If you enjoy what we do here, please remember to like and subscribe so that we can continue to develop our audience and, share cool things about guitars and gear and playing music and techniques and things like that. So recently, my friend Bob O, down in Florida, down in the Villages, said to me, why don't you talk about practicing, how to practice? What do you do to practice? Now, Bob's still playing guitar down there in Florida. He played up here around Chicago for years. He's a great guitar player. And, boy, that was a good question to ask. And I thought about it, and I think the first thing that comes to mind to me is to practice tuning. Like, how do you get in tune? How do you stay in tune? And although you may ask yourself, what do you mean practice tuning? What's that about? Well, for one thing, it's easy to grab a clip-on tuner or an electronic tuner and strike your strings. And when the little dial on the computer or the tuner, goes up to 12 or goes up to the green light or whatever it might be, you walk away thinking you're in tune. And the truth of the matter is that's not always true. I know it's happened to me using those tuners. I think what the tuner is telling me is accurate, and it's not necessarily. So I have to go back and tweak some things. I might play octaves over here. I might play harmonics just to double check. I might play a chord and just make sure that all those notes are ringing sweet. But I'm going to check. I'm going to come up with a method or some methods to check and make sure that I'm in tune. Another thing I've learned over the years is that when you tune your second string open to the tuner, that doesn't mean that other locations on your second string are in tune. Particularly on the acoustic guitar, you might tune that second string open, then you might grab a G chord and something sounds sour. At least it sounds sour to me. And it's your third fret of the second string. And sometimes the third fret of the first string will do the same thing. And it probably has to do with the time of the year, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, whether it's humid, whether it's not. But that second string is challenging. To get the length of that string to be in tune, which is another subject in itself, but just because that tuner says your second string is open, my suggestion is don't just go off and slam a big G chord or a big D chord, because it's very, very possible that those chords are going to sound real sour. And if you don't realize that they're sour, now we've got a whole nother thing, That's why I would suggest when you tune it, just go to your third fret and make sure that your third fret is in tune. And you can get used to hearing your third fret in tune, and that's good ear training. Of course, if you find that your second string open and your third fret will not be in tune at the same time, then you learn compromises and you learn ways to get around sounding out of tune at any point. Happens often on the second string, sometimes on the third, sometimes on the sixth. And learning different methods of tuning, using harmonics, using fifth fret, to the next open string, those kinds of things. Playing octaves at the 7th fret. Sometimes I'll tune my 3rd fret of the 2nd string with the harmonic at the 7th fret of the 3rd string. Sometimes I'll tune the 3rd fret of the 1st string with the harmonic at the 3rd fret of the 12th string, 12th string, 12th fret, 3rd string, 12th fret. Things like that. I try to use bits and pieces of all those methods to make sure that I'm in tune. And, even if I'm in tune for some keys, I might not always be in tune for other keys, and I have to learn that and figure out how to compensate and get around that. So tuning, if you're not in tune, no matter how much you've practiced, how much you've rehearsed, boy, it just doesn't sound good out of tune. So learning how to get there, learning how to stay there, learning how to make compromises to get in tune and stay in tune, I think are really important things to practice. Playing in time. Playing in time is a big deal. So even if you're in tune and you're not playing in time, that can be challenging, man, because you won't always sound good. So what do I do about that? Well, the metronome has never lied to me. The battery in that metronome or the metronome in your phone is never going to be wrong until the battery goes out or you lose power in your phone, That metronome is trustworthy. You can count on it to be in time. And if you're not getting along, the metronome in yourself, chances are very probable that it's you and not the metronome. How do I know how to get along with the metronome? Well, I might play a chord progression. A song that I know are just a 1-4-5 chord progression, and I want to play it along with the metronome, like the metronome is the drummer, like I'm playing along with the drummer. Which brings up another point. A drum program, a drum track, great thing to practice along with. A backing track, a great thing to practice along with. I want to be in time. I want to be a part of the rhythm section. See, I thought guitar was a lead instrument, and maybe a lead instrument only, back in the day. And of course, some of my students think that way, but I share with them, of course, that the guitar is a rhythm instrument maybe 90% of the time. 80% of the time, a lot of the time, more than it is a lead instrument. Now, even if other instruments in the group are taking their solos, you're a rhythm instrument. If you're backing the singer, you're a rhythm instrument. Your rhythm chops have to be in time. Now, when I do get my opportunity to solo, it can be like the cage door is opened and my anxiety comes flying out of it 150 miles an hour. And the first note of my solo is boom, way out in front of the groove, no longer in time. And I'm ripping it up, man. But I'm doing it way ahead of the beat, not along with the groove, and it doesn't sound good as a result. So what do I do with my metronome? I also practice my solo notes, my single notes, my melody playing, my soloing. I also practice and teach my students the same thing, to practice playing the rhythm chops, the background chops, And then moving into my solo section and learning how to manage that moment when you're comfortable and in time playing rhythm, playing chords. And then that beast is let out of the cage and I jump way ahead of the beat. So practicing playing that rhythm into my solo and then returning from my solo back into the rhythm part, back into the backing, the rhythm chops, and doing all of that in time is a great way to practice, and it has really helped me a lot, I can tell you. Now, it's true, the beat is big. It's big. You might be comping, you might be playing your chords on the back of the beat. And when the solo comes up, you might be playing on the front of the beat. But you can learn that with your metronome, with your drum program, with your backing track, and learn how to stay in time. Even though, technically you've shifted a little bit. But that's cool, because that, what always jumped out to me was Bobby Key's sax solo on Brown Sugar. In my opinion, that thing jumps to the front of the beat and just screams on the front of the beat for the entirety of the solo. But Keith is on the back. Keith is on the back of that beat. And it's pretty cool to realize that and to actually play the Keith part behind a soloist. Not just on that tune, on any tune. You're on the back of the beat. There's a really cool groove back there. And you're backing a soloist who is on the front of the beat. And he's just ripping. And you hold your spot in that groove on the back. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to learn how to do. And any sort of backing track, metronome, drum program, drum machine can help you achieve that. Another important thing that I learned about timing and metronomes and those sorts of things is that I learned how to breathe in time. I learned how to breathe in time, and that helps manage anxiety, nervous energy, things like that. And it also helps everything slow down. And then I just fall into this beautiful groove with the drummer and the bass player, maybe the keyboard player and the vocalist. And it's a comfortable place, man. I'm not edgy or nervous or fighting anxiety because I've spent time with that timing device learning how to breathe and learning how to manage. I mean, we all show up with anxiety and nervous energy. And learning how to breathe in time is the thing that has helped me a lot. I've also had to spend a lot of time. People ask me about soloing. Well, soloing is important, and learning how to phrase and learning how to play in time is soloing. But my answer to them, particularly to my students, is to understand your chord progression. Know what the chords are. Understand what you're playing over. Understand where that chord progression is being played at the first position. In any position, actually, on the neck of the guitar. How do I learn to play up here? Well, I learn how to take the chord progression from down here, and I learn how to play it up here. I also learn how to play it here. I learn how to play it here. Because if I know my chords, and I know the progression, and I know where my chords are outlined on different parts of the neck, then I never paint myself into a corner and not know where I am. I'm never lost. I always understand where the song is, where the solo is. And when I practice over those chord progressions, whether it's bluegrass and it's in the first position, whether it's the blues, and even though the progression might be being played right here, I know how to play it up here. And I could solo up here. I can use melody for phrasing. I can use arpeggios, major or minor. I can use that minor bluesy scale that we all know. We all learned it. It was the first thing we learned in the basement, was how to play that minor sounding, bluesy sounding scale. But I can also play major and combine the major sound and the minor sound, along with arpeggios. And I can do that because I know where my chords are. I know the chords on the neck. I know the chord progression of the song. I know that that chord progression can be played in many places on the neck. So it makes it easy for me to stay in the song, to solo. And while I'm doing that, since I've practiced my breathing, I've also practiced how to meditate while that chord progression, while that song is going by me, so that I don't get caught in my head. Now, if I play a phrase or a note that doesn't sound like it makes sense, it's a pretty good chance that I've gotten caught up in my head. And if I paint myself into a corner, I've been thinking, and I've gotten caught up in my head. Now, if I'm practicing meditation techniques while I'm playing, then Spirit is just playing right through me because I've connected. And my path is free and it's open. And then I sound like it's effortless. And I sound like I'm playing from my heart. And it most definitely sounds like I'm not in my head. And that's when you can tell when I am, because I don't sound good when I'm up there. And the more consistent I become at being able to connect to Source, meditate live, on my feet, while I'm playing with the group, while I'm playing solo. Doing it when I'm doing a solo performance is really important, because leaving those chords, getting into those solos, getting back into the chords effortlessly, without hiccups, that's what this meditation and breathing and getting connected to Source does for me. And with that, friends, that's it for today. I'll say goodbye for today. But I'd like to remind you that if you like what's going on here, please like, please subscribe. Please help us build our audience, because we're having fun here in the Woodpicker studio, and we want to keep it up. We want you to have fun with us. Take care. Have fun, play guitar. We'll see you soon.